Is new here. If you've never been to an enrichment series before, welcome. This is a free 1 hour per month session where we try to bring you something of value for you as a human and also as a leader in business. And what we're going to talk about today is leading AI transformational change. We've had sessions in the past that dig into AI itself and some of the ways that you can use it. We're going to talk about that just a little bit, but the lens today is on how you, as a leader, get yourself, your team, maybe your whole company through transformational change, whether that's at the board level or all the way down to the individual level. What are the things that you can do to increase the likelihood of success? And you've got me and Liza today. So Liza and I have worked together for, I won't say how many decades, but
Not
it's a long
say it. Do not say it.
because we both worked together at Wiltel in our first jobs out of college. And then we've worked together many times since then. Liza is really at the forefront of AI. And one of the reasons I asked her to join this is a big part of getting through and leading through any transformational change, but in particular the AI transformational change, really comes down to the human and human resilience, adaptability, curiosity. And Liza has epitomized that. She has completely reinvented herself and her business with AI. And so she's a great example of what's possible at the human level. So thanks for joining, Liza. She also, by the way, runs a company called Growth Path. So if any of your companies are looking for help in their AI transformation, she's a good one to call. And Zappa has a huge amount of content to help every human through the AI transformation. So I'm also always happy to have a conversation. Right now, everybody's boats are rocking, and I'm going to explain that metaphor, and we're going to use it kind of throughout this session. But what's rocking the boats is primarily AI and the amount of disruption that is happening to people's lives and their jobs and their careers. But it's not only that. That is on top of multiple years of continual change, 5 black swan events in the last, 2 to 3 decades, and coming off of COVID, plus adding a lot of macroeconomic stressors, a lot of geopolitical stressors. People really have change fatigue. They have fatigue around the amount of uncertainty in their worlds. And for us as leaders inside companies, that just makes our job that much more difficult. We have to get the humans through this change in a successful way. There is no business in the world that is only AI. We still need humans in the world, and we need them doing very particular things. So the metaphor of the boat comes from Dr. Scott Barry Kaufman. And most of us were trained in Maslow's hierarchy. Probably all of you recognize the term Maslow's hierarchy. You might not recognize the term the model of human potential, but it has built on, and it's a modernized version of Maslow's hierarchy. What we learned in school about Maslow's hierarchy is that it's this nice structured pyramid, and over the long course of your life, you sort of move up the pyramid until eventually you self-actualize. And what I remember is self-actualization happens like in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're fulfilled, and then you start leaning more into purpose and values. Well, a bunch of stuff makes all of that less true than what the nice little picture dictates. One, Maslow himself never built a pyramid. He never explained his theory as a pyramid. And he never said it was this nice, slow march upward and you eventually get to this peak if you're lucky. He always imagined it as a system. The pyramid came along later to make it easy to digest. What Scott Barry Kaufman has done is he has updated it, and he uses the metaphor of a boat. And when our boats are rocking because of uncertainty, we have to stabilize the boat in order to give people the ability to handle the rough waters. But we also have to put wind in their sails to move forward. And one of the reasons I really like this model is because if you dig into the research on the changing why of work, and I haven't included that this time because we've done it before and it adds more time than what we have. But to cut to the chase scene, the reason why young people work today, and I would argue the reason why all people work, is because ultimately they want their experience at work to help them grow into a better version of themselves personally and professionally. And there's a ton of research around that. If you want it, I'm happy to give it to you separately. But let's just say that that's a good piece of established research, and it goes incredibly well with people in their 20s and 30s today. They're not willing to wait until they're in their 50s and 60s to lean into purpose and values. They want that now. What Scott Barry Kaufman teaches us is if we want people to move through any kind of transformational shift, and if we want them to really be involved and excited about their work, we as leaders have to help them do two things. We have to help them stabilize the boat. That's this bottom part. It's psychological and personal safety. It's feeling connection. It's having self-esteem. And then we have to put wind in their sails. We have to help them move forward. And that's the top of the boat. That is about learning, growth, curiosity, love and belonging, and ultimately leaning into purpose. So if anybody has a question, clarification question, agreement, disagreement, go ahead and interrupt me now, come off mute, tell me, because this is really fundamental to a lot of what we're talking about. And if you're all good with this, then I'll move forward. All right, so let's keep going. More research. Actually, we put the link below. Liza did a really great deep research on what's happening right now with AI. And what she found is there's a lot of data out there that shows we're not having the success in AI that we would like to have in many companies. And it's for reasons totally within our control, and because we're not dealing effectively with the human side of the AI transformation. We're spending 28 times more training AI than we are training the humans. Right now, it depends on what research you look at, anywhere from the 60s, 70s to 80% of all of the AI pilots are not moving forward, and they're not moving forward because they're failing to deliver a real return. If you look at recent research from McKinsey, 80% of the success of AI is actually due to the human factors, not the technology factors. 20% is linked to the actual technology infrastructure. And Gartner just released some research that showed if we were just to invest 10 to 15 cents of every dollar that we invest training the machines in training the humans, we would unlock 4.4 trillion in additional productivity gains. So there's a lot of research that shows that humans are a factor in this. It's not just about the technology. And I included the meter report, which I've posted in LinkedIn before, where AI was given to very, very experienced coders, and they know how to use AI, generative AI, they use it regularly. And the results of this pretty deep study showed that they were actually 19% less effective, less efficiency in producing the same code with generative AI. They were less effective than without it. So it shows that, like, we all know we're going to get massive gains from generative, but it's not as simple as just giving people new tools. It's much more complex than that. Lisa, anything you want to add?
No, I think that's great.
All right, so the upside of AI is this dream and promise of allowing the humans to lean more into meaningful work and letting the machines do the redundant stuff. The downside, which a lot of people are in the downside right now, fear, disruption, displacement. And I actually have great sympathy for the rest of the world because you've got this small handful of people in tech that, because of their curiosity, because of their ambition, maybe in some cases because of greed, they're unleashing this disruption. We collectively are unleashing this disruption on the world. And most people who are being disrupted don't want it, never ask for it, and may or may not ever even gain much from it. But there could be, at least in the short term, a lot of downside for them. So I think it's important for us as leaders to understand that mindset and have some empathy and compassion for the level of disruption that this is causing for many, many people. Lisa.
Yes, thanks, Christine. And just to pile on that, the hardest part about this transformation isn't AI. The hardest part is us humans because we have fears and passions and missions and goals. And, I always say to people, it truly is an AI learning journey. And we have to be so empathetic and graceful and respectful of people wherever they are in this AI learning journey. I'm on LinkedIn every day and I see things like you're behind. If you don't do this, your job is going to be at risk. And I think that just feeds into people's fears, where, I believe that, I use my husband as an example, right? So my husband is a published author of young adult sci-fi novels. He fears the use of AI and he fears putting his works into AI because he believes that someday somebody else might be able to write his next series of novels. But at the same time, he is also a cancer survivor of childhood cancer, and he's a right leg amputee. And he embraces AI fully from the perspective of robotics because he feels that it can change the way people work and live, especially for those who have disabilities. So even in one single person, the adoption and the acceptance of AI is very different by use case. And I think as we go through this transformation, which by far I believe will be the biggest one we've ever seen in our lifetimes, we need to be so fully respectful and empathetic with whatever people are dealing with. We only see their work side. We don't see the personal side of things. And I wanted to just share with you why I believe this is going to be one of the biggest transformations for us. Here's a chart that kind of shows, just to make it real, shows what I'm beginning to see as I work with a number of companies, regardless of the organization that they're in, that I'm helping with. We're seeing them begin with using AI as tools, primarily oftentimes like a calculator or a question and answer machine, using it to do very specific tasks. But now more and more are beginning to think about AI, not just as tools, but beginning to build and guide AI teammates. And I'll show you what I mean by that, right? Where the AI teammates are actually doing things and tasks that are part of our workflows. They have a specific job to do. And then ultimately in phase three, Christine alluded to this, they're not just going to be individual AI teammates, they will be a combination of teammates, ultimately agents that do things on our behalf, and we would have to orchestrate them. So that's kind of the evolution from today into the future. Some will be going through these phases a lot faster than others. So on the next slide, just to make it real for you, as we go from phase one to phase two, this is a conceptual org chart of what building and guiding AI teammates look like. So anything outside the gray box is human, and anything inside the gray box are AIs. And these are AI teammates that the human beings built, trained, and are currently managing and maintaining. This happens to be a marketing team, but you can envision a finance team, an IT team, and so on and so forth. And you can see here that the human beings that have expertise in key areas built some AI teammates to help them do their job. Many of these are tactical execution work, but a number of these are fairly strategic AIs. You have a market strategy guide, and you have a compliance checker. So we also need to think about AI not just for productivity and for content creation, but also to improve quality, and then ultimately need to think about them to help us with innovation, because we can't reimagine the future by simply automating the past. So we begin to see these AIs helping us. And the way I think about this is AI overcomes human limitations and humans overcome AI limitations. I give myself as an example. As a human being, I have really bad memory, and I can't be my best self every day because I get frustrated, I get tired, I get sick. I worry about my aging mother in Manila. I worry about my daughter going to college for the first time. So I can't be my best self. I can't remember a lot of things. AI isn't affected by its environment. It performs the same way, regardless of whether there's a tsunami or earthquake happening around us. However, it doesn't have a moral compass. And it also doesn't have the fire in the belly that I do for elevating the strategic value of go-to-market, or using business as a force for good, or ensuring diverse voices at every table. So as a human being, I help AI overcome its weaknesses by providing it guidance on what's right and what's wrong. So that's generally how I see this. On this next slide, you're also seeing how the AIs are not just going to be serving the human beings individually. We will actually be able to chain them or connect them as a system, and they will be working together. The human being becomes the orchestrator and the manager of the AIs, and guiding them to do very specific work, actually workflows to achieve a goal, not a functional goal. It achieves a business outcome.
And this idea that, even right out of school, for those kids graduating, lucky enough to be hired right now, and it's a really tough time for them, they are managers of AI agents right out of the gate. So we have to teach everybody skills that maybe they wouldn't have needed until later in their career. For those of us on this call, and in the business world, this really is a generational leadership moment. And we've got this potential catalyst to help redefine work and what work is and what it means. And we can make work more meaningful and more strategic, but it's not going to just happen automatically. And it's not going to happen without probably a lot of discomfort. And one of the things Zappa teaches is there's no growth without discomfort, because if you're always in the comfort zone, you're not learning anything. So, we as leaders have to step up. And, I think back, Liza, to early internet years, and I know many of you on this call were part of that transition. And we only thought about the upside. We never thought about the downside. So we didn't build security in, and we didn't think about echo chambers. And we can't make those mistakes this time. We have to be more forward thinking, because this is a much more powerful tool and disruptor. If you look beyond AI, any transformational change has a 70% likelihood of failing. Not a tactical change, but a true transformational change. And it looks like AI is probably running higher than the average right now, if you believe the 80% research. But let's learn a little bit about what we can do as leaders to improve the likelihood of transformational change succeeding. These are 6 really good reasons why transformational change fails. 3 of them matter more than the rest. And there's more reasons than this, but these are the top 6. There's 3 that matter a lot. So I want you to see if you can guess which 3 matter most in transformational change. The change isn't communicated, people don't understand it, the teams aren't involved in planning it, leaders aren't modeling it, people can't see how it benefits them personally, or the vision isn't compelling. It's the middle 3. If you look across all the research over 60 years, this isn't just like a recent thing. It hasn't changed in a long time. The 3 main reasons why transformational change fails to take effect in large groups, or even individually, but particularly in large groups: the team isn't involved in planning the change. The leaders aren't modeling the change. It's a one and done, it's an announcement, it's a do as I say, not as I do. And I think the number 1 reason is people can't see how it benefits them personally. So when I lead transformational change, and I've led a lot of it, I start right there. And here's kind of what that looks like. So if you are in the process of leading a transformational change, one of the things that we teach and we suggest is storytelling. Now, Zappa itself is all about learning through stories. It's one of the most powerful ways to create behavioral change and learning. But if you can get your teams to step back, the story angle will create perspective for them. And it's as simple as saying, let's tell the story. What's happening right now in our industry? What's happening in our company? What's happening for our team? What's happening for you individually? Tell the story of this change. Where have we been? What's happening now? Where are we going? And that helps people get some perspective. This is the hero's journey, and anytime I lead change, I teach my whole team about this change journey, because they are going to find themselves on it, and the more they understand what's happening to them, why it's happening, and what's coming, the more likely they are to move through the change quickly. So there's 3 main phases: the plunge. You're called to action, you're forced off the cliff, people are telling you you have to do something, and you plunge down into the valley of dramatic tensions. Now, there are some very resilient humans and many leaders who leap over the valley and they just get to the other side really quickly. Lisa's one of those. Liza looked at the change of what was happening in AI, and she's just like, I'm going to get there first. I'm going to reinvent. I'm going to see this as opportunity. Most people don't. Most large teams don't. But ultimately, if you can get them to the other side, you get to emergence. And so the question is, how do you keep people from wallowing in the valley? And you'll see that orange line goes 2 ways. So yeah, maybe you can leap over the valley, but a lot of times people are down in the valley, they start to climb out, and they end up catapulting back into the plunge. And it's this circle where they spend a lot of time down in the valley and they don't emerge. So there are things we can do to help people emerge, and that's by paying attention to Kaufman's model. And that's why I brought that in. So recognize that for most people in companies right now, there's not one change happening. There's actually 3 simultaneous change curves. What they are going through personally, and like Liza said, all of their baggage and what's happening in their life with AI outside, everything. There's the personal change, there's the team dynamic and the team change, and then there's probably the company strategy change, the industry change that's happening. And this is why they start to feel overwhelmed pretty quickly, because they're seeing 3 changes at once, and they may not feel control over any of them. So how can we use Kaufman's model to help them gain that stability so their boat stops rocking, and then get wind in their sails so they can move forward? And I I'm going to go to that number 5 one that I said is most important. I believe as a leader, the best thing you can do is first and foremost, get everybody to answer the question, what's in it for me? How might I gain personally and professionally if this change is successful? And when I'm leading change with groups, I have a worksheet and people have to fill that out. They have to think about it. They have to talk about it with their teammates. They have to really own it, or I'm not going to get them through the change. And you can talk to them about, what is the more meaningful work? What do you not like about your job now? What can we let go of? But they have to be willing to let go. If you can involve the team in shaping the path, once they answer that question, then you can get to the team level. I need your help getting the team from here to there. You are all going to own it top to bottom. And I say up and down the org because it can't just be the leaders that go away, come up with some great plan and push it on everybody. Each layer of the org has to take what they've been given and they have to figure out what that means for them and their team. If they don't own it, if they don't shape it, they are probably not going to get out of the valley and they're not going to go on the ride with you. So if you want more information specifically on the art of leading transformational change through AI, this is a QR code. You can find this paper on Zappa's website. It will help lead you through that transformational change and help you lead others. All right, so we talked about all of this. Liza.
Yeah, I wanted to just show you an example of a team that is going through this transformation, but has already been through a pretty big chunk of that transformation over the last year. This happens to be a marketing team. It's a public company, but has a fairly small marketing team, about 25 human beings. What you see here is their actual org chart. The green boxes are the human beings, and the dash boxes are their initial set of AI teammates. Back in January, they had 25 humans and 25 humans and 20 AIs. In April, they had 63
Oh,
AI
sorry.
teammates. And then now they have over 100 AI teammates. I cannot put them on an org chart anymore. And they are a combination of tactical and strategic AI teammates. The teammates actually now don't just serve marketing, they are now serving and going across organizations into sales and CS. And what's happening to the human beings is that their jobs are less about the tactical things that they do on a day-to-day basis, because AI is able to do those things. They're able to do more strategic work, more innovative work. They're cutting across organizations, and now their jobs are inclusive of training, building, and orchestrating AI systems. So one of the demand gen marketers, which is actually on the next slide, Christine. So she's right there. She's purple in the middle. She has 3 human direct reports. These are her AI teammates that she orchestrates. She's got strategic planners. She has a revenue idea generator, a number of campaign AI teammates to help her with strategy and copywriting. And then she also has on the left-hand side a number of simulators. She has a digital twin where she has simulated herself so that she can be her best self every day with the help of AI. Whenever she has a document that requires reviewing, that simulator of herself understands her frameworks, her visions, her processes, and it can find blind spots and find things that she's missing. She has also simulated the executive team. So when she has to present to the CMO or the CFO, she uploads the deck and she might ask the simulators, what might my CFO or CMO ask me on this deck or on this topic? And that's how she prepares for that conversation. I also have some C-suite members that have simulated the board. So as they prepare for a board meeting, it helps them become their very best with the help of AI. On the next slide, I wanted to just share with you that this isn't just, oops, can you refresh?
Hmm. Hold on. I have to stop the share to refresh.
Okay, thank you.
Um, so one of the things I'll say is it's refreshing is for those people that, don't want to go through the process of training their own digital twins and AIs and, training it on other people and so forth. For those that are in Zappa, Zappa's AI agent actually does that for you. So you can go in and you can ask it, I'm going to prepare for a meeting with Christine. What, help me prepare for a meeting with Christine. And it will tell you, hey, she's a driver. You need to prepare in these ways. It will help you get ready and it will help you practice. All right, there you go, Lisa.
Yeah, so on that slide, that is just Megan, right? So you can imagine, 25 people, each one has 8 to 10 AI teammates that not just serves them, but also goes across the organization. You could very easily double the capacity and the brain power across your team. So on this next slide, what I wanted to say here is, sorry, Christine, go back to yeah. What I wanted to say here is, this isn't AI for the sake of AI. This is truly making an impact in the business already. And this is just a very small team, and they've achieved these results in less than 6 months. 75% faster content creation, 98% lead qualification accuracy, and improved performance of their campaign, 35%. But the hardest part of this is not AI. The hardest part was the human beings. As I mentioned previously, this is absolutely where Zappa, has truly been able to help in driving, that change, because it is about a shift in mindset and behavior, right? So you can see in these steps are very human centered, deeply understanding the fears, the motivations of the people. We had to understand them first before we can begin to shift their behaviors. Show them what's possible with AI. We can't just show any old use case. People have to see themselves in it by function in their specific departments. We had to give them space for learning. This isn't one of those, give them a bunch of chat GPT licenses and let them figure it out. No, they needed the training. They needed the space to learn. Many of these people are already 120 to 150% oversubscribed. We needed to give them a Slack channel where they were sharing failures as well as successes, some show and tells, office hours where everybody shares. And then we had to look at the impact of each one of the different AI teammates when they're working together. And in fact, this marketing team became the trailblazers for the company. They are now teaching and guiding other departments in the business as a result of this work. So finally, on the next slide, I wanted to just wrap like this section of AI to show you, that this doesn't happen overnight. This is going to be truly an evolution. It's going to be a learning journey, a very human learning journey for all of us. And this isn't just Liza Adams thinking that this is how it's going to work. I've worked with a number of companies, and I've also looked at a lot of research out there. There's this notion of org charts to work charts. And there's research from the 2025 Microsoft Work Trends Index that basically show that ultimately teams and companies will be organizing around business outcomes and goals and not functions. So I believe that the silos between functions will come down, because AI doesn't care about our silos. AI only cares about the ultimate goal and the outcome. It doesn't care where the expertise comes from. And the great news about that is our customers don't care about our silos either, right? So when you look at these stages, many are in stage 1 today using AI as tools. I showed you what stage two looks like, given the example case study, and that's where you begin to have AI teammates. Stage three is when the AIs and humans work together across functions, and you're now orchestrating them as a system. In stage four, we get rid of those functional areas. We get rid of those departments. We now have overarching goals for the business, and then we have an expertise pool of humans and AIs that come together for very specific workflows, and then they dissipate. Some workflows are very short. Let's say you have a short campaign or a short initiative, and then some are much, much longer. It might have a digital transformation initiative. So they might be together for a number of quarters or even longer. So when everybody comes together to achieve a business goal, you don't have disparity in the goals by function, and you're able to operate more quickly. I think stage four is harder for many, many large organizations because you have ingrained cultures, ingrained politics, processes. For smaller companies or for entrepreneurs or SMBs, it might be faster for them to go into stage four. In fact, many are beginning to start in stage four, but this is truly going to be a learning journey for many.
And for any of you, Liza, you can put your contact information in the chat. If any of you want, we've got a number of links in this. If you want this deck, just email me or reach out to me. Reach out to Liza directly. We brought Liza into Zappa. She's one of our many advisors, and she's been with the company from the beginning. She helped us go from stage one to stage two, which I would say is mostly where we're at right now with AI teammates, and we'd love to leap over to stage four. Recognize that change for everybody is really hard. There are a small number of humans in the world who love change and they'll lean into it, but for most people, it creates a huge amount of anxiety for them. And when they have anxiety, they can't lean into their work, they can't bring them their best selves. So we really do have to pay attention, not to AI as a tool, but about how people are thinking about AI for themselves and for their workflow and what it means for them personally and professionally. If we take it back to Kaufman's model, personal growth, the what's in it for me, that question that I say I always make everybody answer at the beginning of any transformational change, that personal growth is the wind in their sails. It's the reason why people work hard. It's the difference between I'm going to put in my minimum number of hours and check boxes, and I'm going to think about problems on my way to work. I'm going to think about them at night. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to collaborate more with my teammates. That difference is in the top of this sail. They're stable enough that they're secure and they're learning, they're growing, they're moving forward. And if we can help people do that through this transformation, they will get through it more quickly and we will have better companies on the other side. There are some human skills that the AI can't do and the humans need to bring. And if we go back to that early research that, how do we make sure we're spending some money training the humans, not just the AI, so we get better outcomes? These are some of the critical human skills needed in an AI world. To begin with, the resilience and adaptability. If we want to get them through, we have to help them learn growth mindset, how to adapt to adversity, how to have compassion for themselves and for others going through this process, and how to build their own resilience toolkit. And that, by the way, all that is very teachable. If they're going to be working with AI teammates, they have to bring the situation. They have to bring the context for the AI. Unless something is completely automated, it's not a teammate, it's back in phase one, the human is bringing in part of the collaboration. Here's the problem. And they have to make decisions. Over on the leadership side, everybody's a manager now. If you've got an AI teammate that you're managing, you are responsible for the quality of that work. There's no court in the world that lets you blame the AI for a mistake. So the humans have to bring the business judgment, the ethics, the decision making, balancing the different factors. And for those of you like me who work with it every single day, it can really slow you down. Like if you are an expert in an area and you're collaborating with it, it gives so many choices. Only the human brain can go back through and say, okay, I'm going to keep this and not do this, and this is redundant. And like there is a lot of human strategic thinking that goes into an AI collaboration. In some ways, it takes more work and time. If something can be easily automated, that's different. But when you're in that collaboration space, that strategic space, the humans have to bring a very important part to the equation. Anything you want to say about that, Liza?
No, that's great, Christine.
And then just the whole trust and, we still have humans in the company. They still need to collaborate. They have to build trust. They have to feel empowered and accountable, especially through this transformation. All of this stuff is teachable. And what we see from the research is if you take a typical 9 box for human potential, and the potential being how people get things done, not just what they're doing, the people who adopt AI earliest are the ones who are in the upper end of the 9 box. Those people tend to be highly adaptable, growth minded, curious. They're willing to try and fail because they have the self esteem to do that. They have the self awareness to do that. And they're decisive, resilient, and collaborative. Again, some people are just born that way. Sometimes you can hire, but you got an entire team or company. You can't replace every single person. We have to upgrade the operating systems of the humans at the same time we're bringing in the new technology. So as you lead through transformational change, Liza and I both worked early in our career at a company called Telechoice. Some of you remember Telechoice. We had a framework called Think Big, Start Small, Move Fast. And it really works for any kind of big transformational change. So involve your team in the Think Big. Don't do it yourself. It's not just a leadership function. Everybody needs to be part of creating the vision and understanding how it will benefit them. The start small is zooming down those fast early wins and again, involving people in shaping that path, meeting them where they're at. Liza gave you a lot of great examples of what that phase 1 and phase 2 can look like. And then it's about moving fast, making changes, being willing to fail and try again and learn together. All right, that is the prepared remarks. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to open it up to any questions. And then if we have a couple minutes, I will give you a sneak peek of the Zappa AI agent that's coming to market in September. It's in all of our beta customers now. And I'll show you how it can operate like those agents Liza was saying to help you prepare to meet with other people in your company, your board, your executives, whatever. Who has questions, comments, things you want to share based on what you heard? Yeah, Judy, and just come off mute if you want to say something.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine and Lisa. That was great. I'm curious when you get to the phase 3, I think it was, where the workflows are starting to be automated. Are there particular or specific tools that you're seeing companies use for this that you can tell us what they are and what you're recommending?
Yeah, Judy, such a great question. As you go through those phases, some of that automation can actually just be done with ChatGPT or
Really?
Gemini Gems, right?
Okay.
Especially with ChatGPT, there's APIs. You could also chain custom GPTs together. However, when you start going between OpenAI and other platforms, then you need to use other tools to connect them, right? So Zapier is one, or Make, or Relevance, lots of those tools. Now you get into the automation part of this. So I tend to, when I work with teams, I tend to first work with them within the platform, the frontier model first. As they become more sophisticated and they want to automate outside OpenAI or Gemini, then we have to look at automation tools like a Zapier or a Make.
Great.
So
Thank you so much.
that requires like legal and IT
Yeah.
because now we're involved in reading and writing, potentially writing into new systems, right?
Mm,
So we don't want everybody to just be able to write into our CRM systems.
Right. Thank you.
I have a
Other-
question, Lisa. Hi, it's Kate.
Okay.
In stage 4, for the handful of examples perhaps that you're aware of that are successful and at stage 4 already, I was really curious to understand the human experience of, if I'm remembering stage 4 and the way that looked on the slide, it said, customer experience at the top, and then new customer and existing customer expansion feeding into that. And then at the bottom is just, team expertise, the pool of experts at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is right. Okay. So I'm really curious to understand how people get to a place from I'm the director of sales and I am the VP of this to I just sit in a pool of
In a
experts.
pool.
Right. Do you lead people to that new model by saying you need to shed your ego and your place in your silo? How do you get people to
Yeah.
scrum instead of I have this?
Yeah, so Kate, it's such an astute question because you would be surprised, and Christine probably knows this, and the Zappa folks know this better than most. Um, there's this study from Harvard with 776 P&G employees. And it was a cross-functional team of P&G employees, and they gave them all AI. And the study basically said that when they used the AI tools, this notion of having boundaries and departments begins to dissolve. They actually did not care anymore about their specific jobs. They had expertise in an area, but they were actually connecting workflows across the business because the AI didn't care about what jobs they had. It didn't care about somebody was in marketing and sales and finance or IT, right? The human beings actually did that, not the
Mm,
AI. So
right,
it
right,
was like human nature. When you've got a tool that allows you to do more and achieve more, we do so, right? That's why we're the most adaptable creatures on the planet, because we want to do more. So I think naturally for some people, they will do that as a result of AI. But I do also believe in the T-shaped um, leadership, Kate. As you know, T-shaped leadership is we have expertise in one area. However, we also have the human ability to connect the dots and care more about the business way beyond caring about just our specific department. And I think those are the kinds of people that are ideal for this expertise pool. They're going to
right.
need expertise in a specific area, but they care a lot about what's most important to the business.
Right, serving the greater good,
Greater
the greater
good.
cause. And so I think what I'm hearing you say by using that example is that it is adopted organically. It's
That's
not,
right.
it happens via the transition from stage 3 to 4. And suddenly it's just happening versus people being told you have to adopt this new way.
Yes, it happened organically at PNG, although
Yeah,
I do believe that some people will hold on to their beliefs, right? And that,
and
I
those
believe
people won't make it.
that's right. I believe in the law of thirds, right? A third will lead, a third will follow, and a third will find their own way. And finding their own way might be in the company or outside the company.
Right, right. Thanks,
And
Lisa.
one thing you can do to accelerate them through that piece of it is if you can get people to identify what they're afraid, what they're hanging on to, why they value it, and why it's hard to let go. If they see it, and then you start asking them about, okay, what's in it for me? What's on the other side? Now they've got both sides of it, and it's like swinging on a monkey bar. You can't let go of the one until you've got something to grab onto over here, but you can be really explicit about, what it is they're hanging on to that they need to let go of and why it's hard. Um,
I
yeah, go ahead.
um I also have a question, or actually more of an ask for advice. If you have early adopters, of course, this is really easy to get going. A problem is the larger the company, the experience is that the harder it is to get them into moving into that direction. Um, I have made the experience that whenever you ask for an AI accomplice to get to your side, the question is also always, can you buy it out of the box and just plug and play it?
Right.
And if the answer is no, it will take time to implement and it will take resources to implement. And we actually have to go out and do stuff and prioritize stories and get it onto sprints. It always tends to get deprioritized. How do you guys motivate within companies to get this prioritized?
So, Christine, do you want me to?
Take a crack at it and then,
Okay.
and
All right. So, I've worked with Christine for so long now. This think big, start small, move fast, just like it's stuck in my head, right? Like lean into, start small. I have worked with teams, and I generally work with the go-to-market teams first, right? That marketing team, small, 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 in a public company. And literally, we started there in less than 6 months. They are now guiding the rest of the business. And it's so amazing because they had to prove themselves, right? And then it snowballed from there. But I generally guide towards 3 ways. The first one is pick some use cases that are aligned to the strategic initiatives, because when they're aligned to strategic initiatives, we have a higher chance of adoption, right? Because they have KPIs, they have owners, they have goals, resources, budget, and the eyes of the executive team, and sometimes even the board. The second one is lean into the areas of biggest pain. When we have the biggest pain and we can address them very clearly with AI, we have very tangible things that we can point to that we've been able to move the needle on and create an impact very quickly. I'm going to have a really super simple example. I was working with a CMO. Her biggest pain was translation and localization. She was spending $75,000 a month to localize and translate every single customer-facing document into 8 different languages. And it was taking 6 weeks to localize these things. Created a bunch of AI teammates, 8 different AI teammates per language, and then basically took that cost down to 0 and down to like 2 weeks to localize. And then everybody else was like, wow, if we can save that much money, what are the next set of use cases? And then the third way that I guide towards is lean into your trailblazers. There's always someone who is intensely curious that is beginning to push the organization, and they become the beacons. They put the spotlight on them and help them inspire others. So those are kind of, Jay, just, some general guidelines of how you kind of start small and begin to snowball from there.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's super helpful. Thanks.
I think there's also a lot of companies that are building AI into their products, and I'm showing you one on the screen right now. But your people will start being exposed to AI that has been trained for them. When like everybody in Zappa created their own digital twin, blah, 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 early on so we could go out and learn. But most people don't want to do that. It's intimidating. So a lot of the products that you have in the company now are working to bring AI into their products. There's more coming all the time. This is an example of if you're in Zappa, if you've got your employees in Zappa, everybody gets a coach and they can pick which coach they want. I've got Zappy, but there's different coaches that kind of have a different lens on how to coach you. But when you ask your coach a question, this is generative AI behind it. And I just said, hey, I'm afraid of the AI transformation. Can you help me? And it starts to give me information about how I can lean into that change. But it'll also give me, in this case, 3 links of a place inside Zappa to go practice. How can I build AI resilience? Or I said, I just need to learn the basics. Okay, here's an AI primer. It'll take people straight into the tools that will help them build the skills they need. But the other thing I was going to show was, like Liza was talking about, you building AI agents to help you understand other people. I can come into this and I can say, I'm preparing for a meeting with my CEO. Please help. And inside an organization, it will recognize I've got you in Zappa's, I think I'm in Zappa's tenant, so it will know that I'm the CEO. It should say, your CEO is Christine Heckart. Here's how you help prepare. Oh, I may not be in the Zappa agent. I might be in the open agent. If I was in my own tenant, it would say, oh, Christine Heckart is here. Here's how to help her prepare. Let's see if it'll tap me. What is Christine's communication style, and how can I prepare? Since I'm not in my own tenant, I'm going to have to give it a little more information. It will go out and it'll say, hey, I'm a driver. Here's the way you prepare to communicate with a driver. Or if I'm managing Christine, it'll say, oh, Christine Heckart is a seer from a work style perspective. Here's the way you manage and motivate a seer. And if you're going to want to practice this before you talk to her, so here it says, I'm a driver. Here's how you prepare to meet with a driver. Her work style is a seer. It just offered that. If you're trying to motivate her, here's how to do that. This is the way she shows up in conflict. And by the way, here's places you can go practice. So if we give people the tools that make it easy for them to start using AI, easy for them to start leaning into that change, pre-done agents, it'll make it easier for them. And we have to invest in these skills for them as well. Resilience skills, curiosity, etc.